So, as we all know, the invention of the telephone influenced us a lot. It went from a small device stuck to the wall of the living room, only used for calls, to a little portable device that we use every day to text our friends, take pictures, research, and share our lives with our loved ones. But all this amount of technology in a little device does not only have good things. Have you heard of cell phone addiction? Cell phone addiction is referred to a problematic mobile phone use. Another term to describe the addiction to cell phone is nomophobia. It comes from the contraction no mobile phobia. It is a relatively recent term that denotes the phobia of not having your phone at hand. I had the idea of interviewing some people and asked them if they felt any kind of anxiety over losing their phones. Do you feel anxiety over losing your phone?
Oui, parce qu'il y a beaucoup d'informations personnelles dessus.
Okay.
Oula, oui, clairement.
Oui.
Ah oui, oui.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Phone.
No, absolutely not, because I feel like if I lose my phone, it would not be a big deal apart from the cost that I will buy a new one.
The freedom to communicate with people around the world was easily given by cell phones. They help us discover any data we need and are a great source of entertainment. To give you an idea, in an average year, we spend 800 hours on our phone. We touch our phones approximately 2,617 times per day. And in the world, more people have access to a mobile phone than a toilet. While this innovation was achieved with the intention of inspiring us, unfortunately, it is something that dominates us. Since the invention of cell phones, we all became dependent of them in a way. It became easier to transport them and use them everywhere, which made us rely on that object and is the reason we are addicted to it these days. Nowadays, we carry our phones everywhere because it's useful for everyday life and it also only weighs 200 grams. For example, these days during a pandemic, if you ever have the chance to go to a restaurant, you will need your phone to scan the menu. Or if you don't have clothes anymore, you will choose an alternative, which is online shopping, which is very bad for the environment, so don't. But if you need new clothes, you are going to go online, and online is now the answer for every single thing we need these days. According to studies, 50% of teens feel like they are addicted to the mobile phone devices. Teens spend an average of 7 hours and 22 minutes on their phone a day, according to a new report by Common Sense Media. This addiction at such a young age might negatively affect your social life and your relationship with your friends and family, and it can produce high levels of social anxiety and maybe even depression. It doesn't only affect our everyday life, but also our mental and physical health. The heavy use of social media can have a big impact on self-esteem for some adolescents. So, as a teenager myself, I thought it could be interesting to interview some of my friends and make a general study by asking some questions on my social media. The questions are generally about their use of phones. So, my first question was, how much time do you spend on your phone? I had 26 answers for this first question. The majority answered 5 hours, but it all depends. There were different answers. The highest was 11 hours per day, and the lowest was 1 hour per day. And according to health studies, teens should only get 2 hours of phones per day. My second question was, can you spend an entire week without using your phone? 20 people voted for yes, 14 voted for no. My third question was, how much time could you spend without using your phone? The answers varied from days to months, and the unique condition was if I have something else to do.
I don't think I could go a whole day without using it if I'm not doing anything. If I have to do something for the whole day, I could, but if you just leave me at home with nothing to do, I would really need to be on my phone.
My fourth question was, do you consider yourself addicted to your phone? I think this is a complicated question because is there a point where you are clinically addicted to your phone? Apparently, when you reach for your phone the moment you're bored or alone, or when you wake up multiple times during the night to check your phone, or when you feel anxious, upset, or short-tempered when you can't on your phone, that seems normal to a lot of people, including myself. If I can't find my phone, I will get upset in a way. Does that mean that we are all addicted to our phones? For example, I don't consider myself addicted to my phone, yet I use my phone whenever I'm bored. So, for the answer of this poll, 20 people voted for yes, they consider themselves addicted, and 14 voted for no, they do not consider themselves addicted. My fifth question was, what app do you use the most on your phone? And this may look like a useless question, but it isn't. 14 people voted for Instagram. In case you didn't know, apps are designed in a way to keep you coming back again and again. Your brain released a chemical called dopamine in your brain whenever it feels rewarded. So whether it's a text message or a like on Instagram or a Facebook notification, it has the potential to be a positive social stimulus and a dopamine influx. So this forces you to go back and forth on the app just to have that satisfaction. 10 people voted for TikTok. Same thing. The way TikTok works make it very satisfying to watch and very addicting. TikTok is considered addictive because it has a For You page that allows you to have several funny and entertaining videos on autoplay, which means that you're caught as soon as you open the app. 5 people voted for Netflix, and I would recommend you to watch Netflix on your TV or on your laptop because watching it on your phone can give you a lot of health problems like dry or itchy eyes, blurry vision, neck pain, shoulder pain. So I would recommend you to watch it on your TV. My sixth question was, where is your phone while you sleep? This is an interesting question because almost all the answers were on my bedside table, next to my bed, in my room. So cell phones should not be close to you while you sleep. They should be at least in another room. Cell phones give off a blue light that studies suggest can inhibit the production of the sleep-inducing hormones melatonin and disrupt our circadian rhythms. So to fall asleep, it is better to power down all electronic devices before bedtime, 2 hours before bedtime. So before bedtime, you can read a book, for example. The WHO, the World Health Organization, warned that overusage of phones can provoke cancer, especially to children because their scalps are thinner than adults and therefore more vulnerable to radiation. My seventh question was, do you believe in cell-phone addiction? 34 voted for yes and 1 person voted for no. My eighth question was, name 3 things that you consider addictive. So for this question, I decided to interview people before evoking the subject of cell-phone addiction, and the answers revolved around substances. For example,
L'alcool, les drogues, je dirais même le sport.
Caffeine, sugar, and tobacco.
It's alcohol, cigarettes, and obviously drugs.
Alcohol and drugs.
Les drogues et les cigarettes. I think food, Shakira songs, of course. My dog.
notice how no one said phones. Now I asked the same question again, but after evoking the cell phone addiction. And almost all the answers were related to behavioral addictions.
Gambling games?
So it is true that there's a lot of similarities between phone overuse and other behavioral addictions like compulsive gambling. There are similarities like loss of control, anger, relapse, and more. My ninth question was, at what age did you get your first phone? Most people said around 12, 13, but of course there were exceptions. 11 people said it was early, and 18% said it was an honest age to have a first phone. Some experts say that 12-year-old is the ideal age to give a child a phone. I interviewed my generation and a bit older if they thought kids these days we're losing their childhood by being on their phones all the time instead of having social interactions with other kids.
I think they're missing a lot of things. When I think about my childhood, I can think about playing outside, going see friends, have a lot of social
Definitely
interaction.
think so. Where we used to live before, we had a neighbor. He was 4 years old, and the parents will always give him an iPad. So he was always playing on the iPad for the whole day, and I just thought that was so sad for a 4 years old kid.
I believe yes, because for example, I have two sisters, and when I was little, I didn't have any tablets or any iPads, so I would always go outside and play in the nature or just hang out with my friends. But now I can see that my sisters, for example, they want to play video games and they're missing out a lot of things. So yes, I believe that this.
My last question was, at what age will you give your kid their first phones? A lot of people had different answers, like 11, 12, 13, even 14. And I personally agree with this comment because I think we're going to be in a different world where we are going to have to use our phones all the time. I also decided to interview the old generation and ask them if they thought the new generation is addicted to their phones. They both agreed. Est-ce que tu penses que de nos jours, les gens sont addictés à leur téléphone?
Oui, ils sont tous très, très addicts, c'est ce que je te disais tout à l'heure. Maintenant, tu peux plus croiser dans la rue les gens, ils te reconnaissent pas, ils regardent que leur téléphone, que leur appareil, en train de jouer ou à des jeux, ou avec leurs copains, ou c'est individuel.
Ouais.
Hein? C'est un téléphone individuel, et vraiment individuel, parce que les gens ne se parlent plus.
Alors c'est de la folie, quoi. Ils sont mordus du téléphone.
Ok.
Ils peuvent pas faire un mètre, ils peuvent pas se passer une seconde sans qu'ils téléphonent ou ils touchent au téléphone, enfin qu'ils touchent, quoi. Donc c'est terrible, ça devient vraiment une maladie.
Concerning social media and mental health, I asked people if they thought social media had a negative impact on our mental health. Do you believe social media affect your self-esteem in a bad way?
Oui, parce que j'ai l'impression que les réseaux sociaux, chaque fois, ils ont un nouveau standard de beauté qui est chaque fois plus haut. Et ils ont une certaine idéalisation du corps parfait de la femme. En général, ils idéalisent la femme. Et c'est pas du tout ce que les gens sont maintenant.
Okay.
Well, I believe it does, because nowadays with, for example, apps like Instagram or Pinterest, we're constantly seeing pictures of girls, for example, with a perfect body or a perfect face, and we have these high standards that we want to reach, but it's obvious that we can't reach them, so it affects our self-esteem.
So yes, social media do have a negative impact on our mental health. It can provoke low self-esteem, low impulse control, anxiety, depression, and being highly extroverted. Thank you very much, and this is the end, and we'll see each other again for other articles on ordinary interest.